My name's Victoria Pratt. I'm from a studio based in the north of England called Invisible Flock. We're an interactive art studio, which means we're a multidisciplinary collective of artists from different backgrounds. I think for us it's about the people, so trying to understand how we all play our individual lives out in this collective kind of mad space. And really trying to draw stories out of how people live and exist on a daily basis. So like Duet, the app you mentioned, for example, was about that. It was about one conversation between someone here in India and someone over in the UK, just once a day giving like a snapshot of their life as they go to work or go home. I don't think it's very different at all. That's only from the experience of the app and looking at the messages that were sent back and forth. I think there's lots of differences in generational behaviour across both places there. You'd see that, and obviously how young people use technology. But yeah, I would say more or less with people are people. What's really nice actually is looking back over the messages that were sent, and sometimes you wouldn't know if it was from an Indian participant or a UK participant. Other times it'd be really clear who was talking. But yeah, I think we're fundamentally, as humans, driven by the same things. We work a lot with galleries or cultural institutions, and they would very much see digital as a marketing opportunity or a side product. They wouldn't necessarily think of it as a piece of art, or there'd be certain kind of showcases of very specific media art, but you'd never see it in a mainstream space. But I think that's very much changing in the UK. I think the Arts Council, who are a big funder of ours, have a real driven kind of digital change policy. So yeah, you're definitely seeing it start to emerge more. Obviously, as people wake up to the fact that technology is in our world and it's in everything from our healthcare to our democracy, and it's hugely important. Everything is technology now, and I think those institutions are catching up to that. Yeah, we're very fortunate in that we are funded by the Arts Council sort of on a 4-year rolling basis. That's a very new thing though. For a long time we were commissioned to commission. So we would respond to commissioning briefs, or we would come up with ideas and we'd drive up and down the country and we'd pitch to people who we thought would be interested. So we hustled like that for a long time, which was great. We made work really rapidly. We got a huge portfolio. I think more these days with that core funding that we receive, it's about us being able to be more strategic and going, these are the subject matters or the themes that we really feel are really important in the world, and building projects and relationships over a longer period of time to achieve them. Very good question, because we make quite large scale work and you're constantly in a negotiation of what you can, the vision and what you can actually practically afford to do. It has happened to us where commissioners have dropped through, or they've decided that the budget's now half. I think you've got to be really flexible as an artist always, it's not about, I think you'll feel like it's about compromising your vision sometimes, but actually if you go back to the heart of what it is you're doing, and if it's like a central question or a central engagement with an audience, there's always different ways to do that. And I think there are very lightweight ways to do that with media art, and then there are kind of more huge infrastructural ways. And I would say, it's just about being flexible and not getting disheartened, because money will ebb and flow, and actually you've got to find a way to survive in that. I think you've got to find the right scientists, I would say. So I do it simply by researching people online, looking at universities, reading research papers on the subject matter, and then just sending them an email, because more often than not they are feeling like, my research, I haven't got an engagement side for my research, or how do I communicate this to the public? And artists are brilliant at that. And like you say, like new media art is a perfect partner for data visualization of some really, really complex and important science that otherwise would just be sat in an institution. So yeah. It's a project called Inaudible, and it's for the National Children's Museum in the UK for next year. It's a research project that's taking place in Aceh in Sumatra, where we've been working with 2 NGOs over there, SOCP and Lusa Conservation Forum, and Bournemouth University based in the UK, and we are mapping the hidden communications of elephants, both in a rescue environment and also in the wild, doing different techniques for that, so a lot of different sound recording, close-up recording of the elephants, using contact mics to record how their blood flows, as well as putting these new audio recorders that we've custom designed out in the forest for 3 months at a time to try and capture wild elephants speaking to one another as they move through the forest, basically. And yeah, it'll be a new media generative installation that will take place next year. Yeah, the caution I think is to not be disruptive, because obviously every time we go into a very fragile ecosystem, you're making a footprint. Even walking through it, it's not a place we should really be. So I think we're really striving with the technology we're putting into that environment to last as long as it can without human contact, so that it doesn't disrupt that. It doesn't just disrupt that environment and it isn't so present. But can also be useful, right? So like, it's not just about engaging the public in it through an artwork, which it is of course, but it's also being useful to research and scientists there to understand how many elephants exist in that ecosystem, so they can then go to the government with that data and say, look, we need to protect this forest. And so that's both the caution and kind of the important impact for us, and where that lies. Yeah.